Audio is super clear. Thank you. Wonderful, guys. So I will jump in. Many thanks for hanging in there. After a point of time, I think we just all gave up and said, let's at least have some fun on the chat window. I know that's what I did. We'll keep this one, the session itself, short. Not worry too much about. Just to good to have you on board, Arvind. Arvind has been. Arvind is an engineer. He worked with 2IM for a long time. He's worked with the content development, product development, with digital marketing. He's taken a bunch of classes. He's handled our discussion boards, counseling, the whole shebang. He's practically done everything with us. So Arvind is a good trusted friend. So we've known each other for a long time. So I can take a lot of liberties with him. So I want to start off with some very simple idea. We all know that he's cracked CAT and done well. So I'm going to ask something slightly different. What was different about this CAT vis-a-vis other CATs? You've taken CAT before. Yeah. You've done well. What fell in place this time vis-a-vis maybe your last attempt or the attempt before that?
Yeah. So actually, hope you guys are able to hear me. So hi. Like Rajesh sir had said, I've been working with 2M for like close to 5 years. So yeah, it's been a wonderful journey. So I've learned a lot of things. So apart from just CAT preparation and everything, and the company, I've made friends for life, and it's been such a good company to work for. So so coming back to the question, so this was my 5th attempt. So as far as percentiles are concerned, the first 2 years were a washout for me. So I didn't prepare, and a lot of things didn't go well, and so the first 2 attempts were bad. So but from the 3rd attempt onwards, I think I figured out what needs to be done to get a good percentile. So what I did probably differently this year would have been to not take too much pressure. So it's easier said than done, of course. So even though it was my 5th attempt, so once I went into a mindset of not taking pressure, it still hits you when you go into the exam, right? So nobody can control that. So I thought of just giving it as an exam. I just took mocks for the last 1 month or so. I was preparing for the GMAT as well. So I think probably taking time out from CAT helped a bit, because I've been involved in CAT preparation for a long while. So I think that approach worked for me very well. So that's what I did. So it was kind of like a pressure-free CAT. So as you all know about Bharat is also my boss and colleague and friend. So he also cracked CAT in the 5th attempt. So he knows how it is. So I took a lot of guidance from him as well. Spoke with Rajesh sir also for a lot of times before the exam. So then went in coolly. Yeah.
Hello, can you guys hear me now again?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Super. Many thanks, Arvind, for that lovely answer. I was struggling with the audio, so I couldn't hear much of it. So sorry about that. So I know the general area. I want to pick your brains on how you went about your mock CATs. What was your plan for mocks? Generally something very useful. So I want to hear on that.
So like I said again, this year, so I generally wanted to attempt around 25 plus marks, just to be sure that you're in the right frame of mind. You know what are your strengths, and so that you're able to be adaptive to different kinds of paper, right? So sometimes the verbal section might be tougher, sometimes the DILR section might be tougher, quant will be easy, and so on. So your mind needs to be geared up for all that. So for that aspect, I thought the benchmark would be roughly around 25. It can be different for different people. So this time I just took around 10 marks, and I put in all my efforts into cracking those 10 marks. So what I did was I took a mock step by step and then analyzed it thoroughly. So the mock is for 3 hours, so like the exam. So my mock analysis would have gone for like probably 8 to 10 hours. So it's more than double.
That is nice.
Yeah.
That is nice.
That is probably nice also, but it's also probably why it's taken that amount of time is probably I have concentration issues. So it could be
Which all of us do.
Yeah.
All of us do.
So a proper ballpark would probably be 6 hours. So you just need to go through the questions that you got wrong. You also need to go through the questions that you got correct also, so that if there's a better method, if there's a juicier method, or if there's an interesting method or a shortcut that you can probably use, so you can save a lot of time on that. And then you'll also need to look for questions that you got wrong, and also look for questions that you skipped. So then once you do this, there are some questions that you'll have to definitely anyway skip, depending upon the level that you are at in each particular section. So I used to make analysis on that. So even in an exam point of view, there were a certain few questions, and probably, let's say, DILR, which I would have definitely skipped. Whereas in quants and verbal, it's a different game. I would probably shoot to attempt everything. In quants, maybe if the question is of a much tougher level, so I was decently comfortable with all sections in all chapters in quant. So it depended on the toughness of the question and whether I could attempt it within 3 to 4 minutes. So that's how my analysis was quant was. In verbal, I used to attempt around 34 questions. So the accuracy would not have been probably good, but I would probably attempt upwards of 30 to 34 questions. So that was the range. In DILR and mocks, I used to do well. So I used to probably, on an average, I used to solve more than 3 to 4 sets. So, but actually in the exam, it was a different game altogether. So I probably ended up solving 10 questions or 11 questions, if I'm not wrong. So that's about it. So I used to mock analyze very thoroughly. So that's an important step. That's definitely something you should all be doing. So I had probably an advantage because my basics were in place before. So I just had to focus on mocks. But if you have to focus on your basics also, you need ample time, and you should start doing everything as quick as possible. So there's still like 4 months to go, 4 or maybe even more. So put your basics in place, then practice questions, then start taking mocks.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thanks a lot. So what have you been doing in this lockdown, apart from watching football and gloating over the success of Madrid? Apart from that, what have you been doing?
So in the initial part of it, I think I was still working, so I had a lot of things to take care of. Apart from that, once that got over, I was like, I started thinking about, I undertook a few courses in Coursera. So that's a trendier thing to do, but I had my own reasons because I was probably not so good in Excel. So, and MBA usually involves a lot of Excel, so I wanted to get better at that. Yeah, so I enrolled in a course and I'm halfway through it, but then but before I could finish, a lot of tasks have been given from NITIE, so that has kept me occupied for the last, let's say, like around 2.5 weeks. So that's how I'm occupied.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, if you had to distill everything that you have gone through in this preparation and give one piece of advice to someone preparing now, or 2 pieces, only 2, what would that be?
So do not give up. So I'm a proper example of not giving up. So I've been there at it. I've been like probably a veteran in this. So do not lose hope. There might be days when you may not be doing anything. That's just all right. So, but don't focus too much on the long term. Maybe it worked for me because I'm not a big term, long term planner. So I used to keep things short term. So I used to think about what do I do this particular moment in the next 5 days, in the next 7 days. So that worked for me. But if you are like a long-term planner, that will work for you. So my point to summarize would be make your preparation according to your strengths and your weaknesses. So find a sweet spot. So probably if you're preparing for CAT, you are probably around at least 2021. So you would know your strengths and weaknesses. So go back, look at it. You're all going to be adults now, so think about your strengths and weaknesses and then adjust your plan based on that. So what worked for me may not work for everyone. So that's my key point. So you might get all GAN from everywhere around the internet, but that is not the entire thing to fall on. So that's just a layer. That's a basic layer. On top of that, you will need to do a lot of additions for the plan to work for you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Many thanks. I'm going to, I pretty much asked all the relevant bits. There's one question from comment which I found was interesting. How different is an online course from a routine course? So you've had an experience of both. You've had one classroom course, but predominantly you prepared online for the relevant CAT. How different is it, and how have you gone through that?
So yeah, before I answer the question, I should say that I was a student of Rajesh sir in the starting point. So I just dropped into a class and then I took the demo class. Then I was like, it was an afternoon, Sunday afternoon. So usually I must have fallen off asleep at that time. So so once I entered the class for the first time, it was like after my engineering got over, it was the first time in a long while I could pay attention. So all thanks to Rajesh sir for like. What do you call for
Keeping you awake.
yeah, keeping me awake and teaching the concepts better. I still remember it was number theory 1 and 2. So yeah, the classroom. If you're able to come to Chennai and attend the classes, definitely do the classroom program. But the online course is just as good, if not better, for multiple aspirants. So I'll just say how was it different for me, classroom and online, in a few points. So I'm not a personal motivator. At least I was not at the first instance for the first time that I gave CAT. So I think I needed the schedule of a classroom program to keep me going. I would probably require the peer interaction, seeing them study, answering questions, and then that external kind of motivation. But if you're intrinsically motivated, if you're able to put plans on your own, if you're able to stick to them, and you have other constraints like, let's say, transport and all that, then online will be the best bet. So online is going to be the future also, and everything that can be done in the classroom can be done in 2IM's online course. So I'm not sure about the other courses. So whatever can be done in the classroom course can be done in 2IM's online course. So yeah, so online course lets you plan your preparation according to you. So, and it's as close to real as it gets. And if you are a person who is comfortable at your own pace, online course is the best for you.
Wonderful. Thanks a ton, Arvind. Once again, lovely to have you on board. Apologies for the tech glitches and the rest of it. Best wishes for your NITIE. Hope you have a cracking time there. Stay in touch, and you can always drop back in at any point of time to 2IM to either meet the guys or start working with us again. And don't let NITIE put ideas into your head.
Yeah, definitely. I'll come back, and I would probably want to play a lot of TT matches with Bharat and you. So and
so we have that outstanding as well.
Yeah.
Lovely having you on board. Thanks a lot. I'm gonna there are a couple of questions on the chat which I'm going to take, and I think Bharat on the background will somehow shift the audio from Arvind to Bharadwaj permission. Arvind, thanks a lot, and Arvind is off to NITIE this year. I'm sure he's going to have a great time there, and then after that as well. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, and all the best to everybody. So there's a lot of time, so utilize it very well, and best of luck. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Arvind. I'm going to take a couple of questions from the chat window. I'm going to answer that. So in the time it takes for Bharadwaj Parmeshwaran to jump in and say hi, hello. This is give me a second. I thought I had a couple of good questions. 1 second. Done this. All this LOD of all sections in CAT 2020, my prediction for whatever it is worth, which is nothing, is that it is going to be very similar to CAT 19. I think CAT 20 found a wonderful balance. RC or VRC had become kind of easy, and then they amped it up. Quant was too tough in 2018, so they dialed it down. DLR, they found a level. So I think CAT 2020, the level of difficulty in each section is going to be as close to 2019 as possible. We gave some tests for ₹99 in the past. It was a one-time only offer. We offered it only for that year. We do offer a lower price variant 3 weeks before the exam, but the lower price variant is going to be priced close to 1,000, not 100. And so that was a one-time only offer. And so we are feeling good about the world, and we said, look, let's give everyone a chance to prepare in the last 3 weeks. That's not going to be every year. I got a lot of heat from everyone for trying to put a lower price. So we're not going to have that variant at all. The rest of the guys in the team will kill me. So we're not going to do that. Sorry about that, guys. Wonderful. I'm assuming that Bharadwaj Parameshwaran is online. Hi, Bharat. I'm not able to see you, obviously, but I can hear you. Bharadwaj Parameshwaran is also an alumnus from 2IM. So he's worked with us for a while. He was our student, and then he worked with us. He studied while working with 2IM, and he obviously did well in CAT, did a bunch of interviews, and he's on his way to MDI Gurgaon. He's a sales. He wants to specialize in marketing. So those of you interested in that should probably ping him and ask him some questions. He's worked a lot with digital marketing and YouTube. So in fact, he did quite a bit of work with setting up our YouTube channel and this OBS. So I'm going to blame him that the OBS thing didn't work today. Fine. Just kidding, but wonderful to have you on board. And best wishes for your thing. Quick question. What was your? I'm not going to ask the same question that we asked Arvind, so that we'll have some. So I want to have some variety. What was your strongest section, and what was your weakest section? How do you go about them? I'm able to hear you clearly. I don't know why, but maybe because it's coming from my Skype. I'll have to wait. Guys, are you not able to hear Bharat clearly? Wonderful. So he's going to try to fix it. I'm waiting for him to come on board back. So I'm going to take a few questions. So you have any questions, you ping me. Now is a good time. How to increase verbal accuracy? Be particular. Look to eliminate choices, not just select. Narrow it down to 2 choices, and then see if you can find some ground to eliminate that. Can't hear Bharadwaj. Wonderful. So sorry about that, but we're looking to fix it. At any point of time, Bharat, if you feel you're back on track and the tech is working, ping.
I think they should be able to hear me now.
Okay. Can you guys hear Bharat now? Bharat's hi. So you should speak something right about now.
Hello. Test. Can you guys hear me? Hello. So I'm just looking for feedback.
I cannot answer that because I can hear you from one more window, I think. So I'm not in the best position to answer that.
We can slightly hear my voice. Okay. So
yep. We can slightly hear his voice. That doesn't help. So you have to scream now, I think.
Just 1 second. It should be hello. Test. Is that too loud? That's too loud.
He's audible. Somebody's saying he's audible. Wonderful. You're back on. Yes. So you're getting yes with a lot of S's. So wonderful. So thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to ask the question again. So his strongest section and weakest section. You started off the answer, but I think you'll have to go all over again.
No problem.
Strongest section and weakest section.
Yeah. So just before we start, this is my second attempt with CAT. So my first attempt at CAT made me realize that verbal is something that I was natural at. I didn't really have to put in a lot of effort. And so needless to say, this attempt with CAT, verbal went really well. And my weakest section, the first CAT and the second CAT, was my DLR section. DLR was something that I struggled with. I've had plenty of mocks where I'd actually scored 0 in DLR. So we'll get to, I think,
okay.
I'll get into how I coped up with my weakness in DLR. But to answer your question, verbal was my strongest.
Okay. And so now, what did you do about your DLR?
So DLR, I had to figure out why I wasn't getting the answers. When I always go back and analyze a mock, I realized that I could actually solve that set within 20-25 minutes. But during an exam, I always used to fail for some reason or the other. Some idea didn't strike, or I went wrong with some calculation, or it just felt like a very difficult set, like XYZ excuses. But I just couldn't figure it out. So I stopped, and then I spoke to some of my colleagues and mentors. Bharat was very helpful, and he made me realize that I had to sit and just solve all my mocks again at home and go through a lot more practice. And eventually that mindset of solving a DLR comes to you. And once you have the mindset, it becomes easier and easier. Nobody's a genius. So maybe Rajesh sir is, but apart from Rajesh sir, nobody else is a genius. It doesn't strike
pulling
you.
My leg on air.
Like the solution will not strike to you. So the more you solve similar sets, the idea just comes naturally to you after a point. So I solved a lot of sets. We in the 2IM course we have a mixed bag bundle which has a different sets of DLR puzzles which were really useful. I went through almost 20-25 puzzles and kind of got a hold of my DLR. And surprisingly, DLR went really well in my actual cat. I was very proud of it.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I like the way he more or less said it's basically tons of practice. Your mind will draw connections, even if it doesn't do it on day one. It will get around to drawing those wonderful connections where you naturally start getting better and without realizing exactly what is moving, something starts moving. And that's a wonderful point that happens, especially with VRC and DLR, where suddenly you feel like you get that section. And on that, so the fact that it was not one piece of advice or input or something that changed, but we might what he's trying to say is keep practicing and keep doing different things, and suddenly it starts falling in place. And so a couple of questions on the chat which I think you might find intriguing. It says when I'm reading articles, I come across new words. Should I stop and figure out the meaning of the words, or do I just power through
So
the context?
I face this issue like quite often. What I usually do is I try to understand the meaning from the context, and that usually works. And there are times when I don't get it. So I have a plugin in Google Chrome, which lets me, as soon as I double click a word, it highlights and tells me the meaning. So I use that sometimes, but most of the time I try to figure it out from the context itself.
Okay. So even I'm a big fan of figuring out from context. Stopping and checking the meaning just kills my flow. And the idea is any which way to figure out from the context. So lots of words I don't know the meaning for, I power through, and then I come back and check whether there is something to be gained by knowing the meanings of these words. Another interesting question: if you're interested in marketing, what books or courses should one go through?
So right now I'm actually doing so Google has this wonderful digital marketing course which is completely free. So you guys can just check it out. It's a beautiful course on how you can set up a shop online. That's all. It's very simple, and it takes you through the entire process of social media marketing and setting up your payment gateways, and then eventually setting up your everything to do with Google business essentially. And it's something that I've been using for the past month or so, and it's really insightful. And
Okay.
I've also seen a few courses on Coursera. I don't have any single course that I want to say this is good because I haven't really gone through all of them yet. But I'm pretty sure there are very good courses on Coursera.
Okay. How did your speed go up? I'm seeing one question. What did you do to increase your speed for VARC and DLR?
So for VARC, I usually used to get around 95 to 99 percentile in my mocks for that section alone. That was without a lot of effort. Effort in the sense that I really didn't stop and then solve a lot of questions in terms of para jumble and some summaries from picking out the right what is a para summary or something.
Sentence elimination, para jumble, para summary. Yeah.
So I didn't really put in a lot of effort, but what I did to improve my speed in VRC was I allocated time for each section. So RC is the bigger chunk of VRC section, and out of the 5 passages that used to come, I wanted to at least finish 3 or 4 within a set time that used to work for me. So having a goal of time, usually it's a double-edged sword. It could work for you, it could be harmful in the sense that you might be under pressure. But for me, I had 20 minutes for each RC, and whether or not I finish it, I go to the next one. So I don't stop.
Okay.
And when it comes to the VA part, the same strategy used to work for me. I had a set amount of time for each section, and I swore by it. I did not waste even a single minute. If I go over time, I just go to the next one. So that kind of kept me in check for VARC. But for DILR, it was kind of dynamic. I could not really allocate a set amount of time, but there was a threshold which I did not cross. So I did not want to spend more than 30 minutes for a problem. So if I get it in the first 5-6 minutes, wonderful. But I will not spend more than 20-30 minutes on a single problem in DILR. And it's kind of connected with the first answer I gave. It's all about practice. The more you solve the easier things get, the faster you become and the more accurate you get also.
Correct. Spot on. I think Arvind also kind of hinted at that. There's no kind of substitute for getting tons of practice in. Finally, last words. Any one piece of advice you would give to people who are preparing now? One thing or maximum two things that they should keep their minds eyes on.
Be regular. That's all. So if there is something that you're doing every day, just keep doing it every day. Don't take a break. Doesn't matter if it's a Sunday, Saturday, or a Monday. Just keep doing it every day. Even if it's small bite-sized chunks that you're completing in a day, do it in the day. Don't push things for the next day. The real issue with CAT is right before CAT, if there is a lot of topics that you've pushed, it becomes a huge mountain for you to climb. It's going to be impossible. So keep doing things regularly. Don't take breaks, as in don't take breaks from solving things on a daily basis. Definitely do take breaks between practice, but be punctual. That's the only advice I have.
Wonderful. Thanks, Atan. There's just one more question because I thought it was interesting. You said RC was your strength. Do you read the passage and then go to the question, or other way around?
So this is wonderful advice that I picked up from one of 2IM's teachers, one Mr. Swaminathan. So what I figured is, so Mr. Swami is really good with verbal, and I kind of adopted his strategy on solving RCs mostly. So what he says is, if you really read a passage well, you will not have the need to go back and visit the passage once you start solving the problems. So it kind of like if you have to go and then flip through the passage to figure out where the question comes from, it kind of hints at, it tells you that you've not really read the passage well. So step one, read the passage really well. When you're trying to answer the problem, if you keep going back, it's a sign that you've not read it well. So what I try to do, once I've read the passage, like 90% of the time, I don't go back. There are times when I have to revisit and then find out if my answer is right, but I don't go back and forth.
Wonderful. Get it right the first time. That's his input. But I'm also a big fan of taking time to read the first time around. So I don't like the idea of sneaking into the question because you have a preconceived notion. Whatever you've seen in the question, you're looking for that in the passage, and your mind continuously picks those words, and then you don't read between the lines. You don't get the crux of it. And so when you're reading, read on a blank, clean slate. Take it all in. Those 10 seconds that you might spend extra in understanding the crux of the passage is worth its weight in gold. It's properly valuable. So don't rush the reading part. Fine. Wonderful, Bharat. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to Arvind as well. I hope Arvind is listening somewhere. Once again, thank you. It was wonderful having both of you. Best wishes to you, Bharat, to MDI. Have a rocking time.
Thank you so much.
And you finish your MBA and do give us a ping. We would like to have you on board as in some form marketing for us as well. So
Definitely.
Please do come back to Chennai and give us a ping. And best wishes for your MBA. Have a rocking time for the next 2 years and a wonderful career ahead of you after that. You can say hi, hello, and best wishes for the rest of the guys as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, sir. And for everybody preparing for CAT 2020, best of luck. Like I said before, just be regular, keep at it. You'll eventually get there. It's not too hard. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. Thanks a ton, Bharat. Keep at it. Both of them have said not outlandishly different things, but wonderfully valuable things. Get tons of practices. That was a theme that Arvind kept coming back to. Keep turning up and be at it over and over again is what Bharat has been saying. Many thanks for hanging with us for an hour or longer. To listen to these two gentlemen speak. They're wonderful guys. I've had lots of fun working with them. Good to have them. I really don't have to apologize to them for the tech issues. I work with them, so they know that it's not like we're trying to do this on purpose. It just didn't work. It was not our day. Simply not our day. Many thanks for hanging in there and still engaging and asking questions and having a go. Best wishes for all of you. I think you should have a wonderful time preparing for this exam. I know how both of them prepared. They were pretty intense. They had their thing, but they never got consumed by the idea of preparing for CAT. They never never stressed them out. They were never completely consumed by just that one thought. So they would watch Arvind would watch football. Bharat would watch many things. So Bharat had a lot of different hobbies. We all would play table tennis, sit and shoot the breeze about different companies and really scream out on the kind of companies that we really wished would go bust. The long list we had. So we never, both of them never got so consumed by the intensity that it was too much of a big deal. And I think that's also something to keep in mind. Prepare with some amount of fun and joy. And don't get consumed by the idea of having to do well in this exam, and that just increases the pressure. So have fun while you're preparing. It's absolutely critical. Many thanks for hanging there with us for 2/3 of the session while we're plugging along. We will get this right. If we don't get this right, we'll shift to podcast mode for this series and release a series of interviews with our guys. I quite enjoyed the chat session and this. Thanks a lot. Enjoy your Sunday. Have a wonderful time. Signing off, guys. Thank you. Cheers and best wishes for you.